June 11th, in India, Rakesh Arora, he books an Uber at 4 a.m. He was supposed to fly to Bangalore for a business meeting. A car comes in, which takes him to the Delhi airport. And at 4:12 a.m., his daughter's phone lights up. And it shows an iPhone crash notifications from her father's phone. She checked his location. It wasn't moving. It seems like he was stuck in one of the highways. She and her mother drove to the location and she saw a cab smashed into a stationary truck. She ran towards it and she asked the bystanders, "Where is the passenger?" And they said, "That's the passenger." They eventually took him to the hospital and he was declared dead on arrival. Uber finally reached out after the family posted on social media. They said that they were deeply saddened and the driver's access to the platform has been revoked. But the family claims that the driver perhaps fell asleep at the wheel, and they have the photos showing that the tires were intact. There was no blowout, just an open road, a stationary truck, and a car that didn't stop. Now, I know what you are thinking. Bad roads, reckless driver, it happens. That's where my head went to. But here's what stuck with me. Nobody knows how long that driver had been awake. Not the police, not the Uber, probably not even the driver. Uber has a 12-hour limit, but it only counts driving time. Waiting doesn't count, and switching to another app resets the clock. So they have designed a system that tracks your hours but does not track your sleep. So I thought maybe this is just an India thing, one driver, one bad night. But then I decided to look into other countries, and the first thing that blew my mind was Japan. Japanese average is 6 hours and 18 minutes, and South Korea, their 2026 report says that the actual sleep time is about 5 hours and 25 minutes. In India, 6 hours of sleep. So, different countries, different roads, different cultures, same problem. Something is not right. Because every doctor that you ever meet agrees that you need at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep. And this is non-negotiable. But why? Why is the world getting less than 6 or 5 hours of sleep? First thing that everyone will say are the phones. But the people sleeping the least aren't the ones scrolling the most. They are the ones that are working most. In the US right now, a minimum wage worker needs 2.5 full-time jobs to afford one bedroom apartment. 14 hours a day, subtract commuting, subtract eating time, tell me where the 8 hours of sleep fits. It doesn't. Americans working over 60 hours a week, 48% sleep less than 7 hours. Not because of Netflix, but because of work. Now, you can be thinking about it from a different lens. Perhaps gig economy, because gig economy makes it even worse. Roughly 7.7 million gig workers in India alone. And here's how these drivers described how these platforms actually work. So, if a driver turns down a ride, his acceptance rate drops. If the acceptance rate drops, he gets fewer offers. Fewer offer means less money. So your option is you keep driving at midnight, at 2 a.m., at 4 a.m. And going offline to sleep means coming back to a dead queue. The world isn't choosing between 5 hours. The math is choosing for them. But okay, perhaps that's for the poor people or the working poor people. If you earn enough, surely you should be getting more sleep, right? This is where it gets even weird and incredibly interesting. I found a study published this year in Economics and Human Biology. Researchers looked at how sleep relates to income across entire spectrum. And it is interesting because as income goes up, sleep goes down. So the top earners sleep about half an hour less per day than the bottom earners. So the poor can't afford sleep and the rich won't waste time on it. The system is squeezing from both ends and nobody can escape. Sleep is a counter-cyclical with the economy. Now, what does that mean? Well, it means that during recession, people actually sleep more. During the booms, people sleep less. While the economic growth of a country is built on human sleep. So, this is completely weird because the thing that you are told to sacrifice for is the same thing that's taking it away from you. But what is 5 hours actually doing to your body? Let's truly understand it, because if the damage is minor, none of this matters. But what if the damage is not minor? People who slept under 5 hours at night for 6 months, not one bad week, 6 months, their hippocampus, the area in your brain that is responsible for memory, it shrunk, which is equivalent to 6 years of premature aging. That's not tiredness. That's the structural brain change from a sleep pattern millions of people are living right now because they have no alternative. After 17 hours of awake, your cognitive impairment equals to a blood alcohol levels of 0.05%. After 24 hours, 0.1%, which is legally drunk everywhere on earth. And there are laws against driving drunk, but there are zero laws against driving at the end of a 20-hour shift. This is the part that most sleep videos miss. Sleep deprivation makes your amygdala, the fear center of your brain, about 60% more reactive. Meanwhile, your prefrontal cortex, which is the rational thinking part of your brain, and the impulse control and long-term planning goes quiet. So, fear without brakes, scale that up. Not one person, but a population who is more anxious, more impulsive, and easier to scare, easier to sell to, and less likely to negotiate a raise, less likely to organize, and less likely to quit a bad job, because all of that requires prefrontal cortex to function, which is completely sleep deprived right now. If sleep deprivation makes people more anxious and more likely to spend on quick fixes, is anyone trying to solve this? Or is someone getting paid? Energy drinks, a $75 billion market, and their fastest growing consumers aren't athletes. They are office workers like you between the ages of 25 and 45. They grab a can at 7 a.m. because they slept only 5 hours the night before. If you think about it, this entire industry could potentially disappear if the world sleeps for 8 hours. And then there are sleep techs, apps, rings, your watches, and they charge you monthly to show you how badly you slept. Now, this is a $25 billion industry which is growing by 18% every year. Next is sleeping pills. These are the supplements, nearly $90 billion industry. Then there is coffee, a $460 billion industry. And finally, and this is the most interesting one, anti-fatigue skincare. These are products engineered to make your face look like you slept when you didn't. This is a 17 billion euro industry. So, in total, over $600 billion every year. Industries that would not exist if the world decided to sleep properly. Rand says sleep deprivation costs $680 billion in damage. Now, put the two numbers side by side. This machine isn't trying to fix itself. It seems perfectly balanced. Perfectly, yet horribly balanced. The system breaks your sleep, sells you solution, and then it breaks your sleep again and again and again. So, if the market won't fix this, are the people running countries at least pushing back? In October 2025, Japan elects Sane Takachi, first female prime minister, and her victory speech was, "I will dispose of the phrase work-life balance. I will work, 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 and work." She told parliament that she sleeps 2 hours a night, 4 at most. For a routine parliamentary prep, she called a staff meeting at 3 a.m. Meanwhile, the government's own data showed a record 883 cases of work-induced mental health collapse for the same period. And this is not just Japan. In America, it is "I'll sleep when I am dead." In South Korea, high school students sleep under 6 hours during exam. 30% of those students have contemplated suicide. Same story, different accents. So, in every culture, the message is very clear. Your exhaustion proves your worth. And you know what's clever about that? It makes you blame yourself. Because you can't sleep, it's your discipline, your phone, your routine, your fault. But the entire day belongs to someone else, your boss, your commute, your algorithm. And at midnight, this is the first moment of the day that truly belongs to you. So what do? You scroll, you watch something, you just exist for an hour, knowing it will cost you sleep. But you choose it anyway. That's not laziness. That's a person reclaiming this only silver autonomy of that day left with them. Most videos stop here because they have identified problem. They have exposed the machine, but I needed to show you, has anyone actually said no to this and still made it work? Netherlands. over 7 hours of sleep, consistently the highest in the world. Denmark, Finland, same range. So, what's different is what these countries choose as their strong labor protections. Their working hour limits are pretty strong, and a norm that says that evening is for yourself and with your family. They experimented the largest 4-day work week trial ever. 2,500 workers, and the productivity stayed the same, or in fact it improved. In 2022 in UK, 61 companies tried this. Revenue stayed flat, or in fact it grew, and majority said that they would never go back. France, well, they released something called right to disconnect in 2017. Workers can now legally ignore the emails outside of working hours. Portugal, Spain, Belgium followed, and here's the finding that ties it together. People assume that there is a trade-off: sleep more, produce less. And I think it is wrong. Denmark sleeps more than Japan, and it has higher productivity per hour. And in Netherlands, well, they sleep more than South Korea, and a fraction of the workforce mental health crisis. So the countries that protect sleep outperform the countries that continuously sacrifices it. Sleep is not the enemy of productivity. Sleep deprivation is. When I started this video, I asked the question. Every expert agrees that you need 7 to 8 hours. So why is the world getting 5? Now you know.